Now joining the first team NFL Draft and College Football Podcast, got Mr. Jah Joyner, who's a star defensive end out of Minnesota, star for the Golden Gophers this past year, led the team with 7.5 sacks. A very interesting backstory, which I'm excited to get into. But Jah, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for doing the show. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me, for sure.
No doubt, brother. Well, so Jah, we kind of like to forecast these ones as a little bit of a backstory from a journey perspective. So I went back and I was looking at every recruiting profile you had, every ranking you had, just kind of a little bit of your backstory. So I went back, saw that you're a Connecticut guy, obviously. So I wanted to start out there out of Danbury, because I know that you were rated as a 4-star by one platform, 3-star by from some others, but you had a very interesting offer list, because obviously you had some of the Midwest schools like Minnesota, for instance, and you had like Boston College, which obviously I'm sure you're very familiar on, growing up in Connecticut, but then also like Arizona State and a couple others and that sort. So a little bit out of the region. Would just love to hear a little bit of the recruiting background and how ultimately you did end up with Minnesota and Coach Fleck.
Yeah, it was just a great story. Just Coach Thierry, my high school coach, bringing me to Temple, seeing different programs throughout my years, throughout junior year and senior year. And it was kind of just I wanted to be close to home, believe it or not, but it was just exciting to see other places when the Boston College coach ended up getting fired. So I did reopen my recruitment. So the first school that reached out was Minnesota, and it was just great to come up to Minnesota and see like the place and just be away from Connecticut and stuff like that. So it was just really exciting for me to just like go and like see other places. And I think Minnesota was just like one of the places where it just stuck with me. And the D-line coach ended up leaving that year when I did come up here, but I got really close with Coach Fleck. So it was pretty cool to get close to the head coach. And it was just like really just close. And I fell in love with it.
I love that, man. Well, let me ask you, because I've been a fan of Coach Fleck for a long time, back to his Western Michigan days, because obviously he did a tremendous job just kind of flipping programs around from scratch a little bit. Because, I mean, when he went to Western Michigan, they were in a really bad situation. He flipped them around quickly. Minnesota was in better standing than what he walked into for Western Michigan, but obviously he still had to rebuild it and make sure that it was up to what his vision was for the program. So I would love to hear just a little bit, if you can, a little insight on Coach Fleck and the stability that he has brought to the University of Minnesota, and how excited you guys are for the continued success under Coach Fleck.
Yeah. First time meeting Coach Fleck, he actually came to Danbury, and he had this whole presentation about his program and his culture. And it was just like very exciting to like just see it. And because no other head coach even brought like their culture. So just the difference between that, and then like his energy is very captivating, and definitely just a great energy to just be in the room. And he's one of the guys where you can just talk to, because it's not like head coaches that you can just go in their office and just like talk to them, but he's definitely a guy that you can do that. He always has his door open. He's always a guy that just reaches out to you, and definitely just like talks like ball, talks like just off the field stuff as well. And he definitely helped me with that. Just becoming a man, becoming who I am off the field. And this upcoming season, we're definitely excited for the opportunity for this season. And I'm sure everyone's excited for the upcoming season.
So when I went back and looked at just kind of your background as far as like the roster perspective and just kind of what you did early on. So unfortunately for yourself, you did come in obviously in the COVID year, right? So 2020 you came in, and I know that was probably a little bit of a tougher transition, but then you also redshirted 2021. Can you take me through just those first 2 years and how maybe vital and important, even though it was probably a little frustrating wanting to get more playing time, how vital that was? Because, I look at your recruiting platforms. I don't know how verified these were, but you were listed between like 225, 230 coming out of high school. Obviously, you've gained a lot of weight and a lot of physical development. How important were those first 2 years for, I guess, maybe a building block of what you become now?
Yeah, so another thing was I needed to be very developed, and Coach Fleck was very adamant talking about he talks about developmental program, and I knew that I needed to be developed. And my first year, I was like, just talking to Big O. He used to be a defense end here, talking to Boy and stuff like that. And they talked about I have time, but at the same time, I don't have time. So just getting my body right the first 2 years here, learning the playbook, just learning new ounces, like learning the techniques that we had here. Um, just talking to the defensive line coaches that was here at the time. Um, I thought I did a really good job with that my first 2 years, and then like just taking a lot of notes that for my upcoming years, and it was a blessing to sit behind someone that was really good. A lot of like detail oriented that Big O was, and just learning from him, I think was really helpful for me. That's why I sit back and really coach up the younger guys that's here because um, obviously Big O didn't have to just help me like that. So I definitely look up to him, and those guys obviously look up to me. So I obviously just look back and definitely give them pointers and stuff like that. But those are 2 big years that was big for me to get my body right for these last couple years playing.
So it's funny. I'm glad you dropped the nickname for Big O there because I was going to try to pronounce his name, but then I didn't want to butcher it because I had already butchered it for a full draft process. So I did not want to butcher his name on this podcast. So, but you mentioned him. You mentioned Boye Mafe, who is obviously doing great things with the Seattle Seahawks now.
Yeah.
What's it like to be in that room, man? Because I feel like we don't appreciate it enough. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, specifically at defensive end the last few years, you guys have had some very talented dudes, man. What's it like to be a part of what is blossoming into a great tradition, obviously on the edge there?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and they led the way themselves, and having the having a coach that played here back here is very a blessing, and he knows from a player standpoint where we're going through and how we can transition it to on the field, being detail oriented, how we work in the off season. And then obviously he played defensive end here, so it was just pretty cool to just like pick his brain. He always talks about how more athletic we are than him, so we can be more fluent. But it's definitely an exciting time to play defensive line in Minnesota, and we talk about it all the time. And just the new defensive coordinator coming in and how he's changing things for the defensive line this year, and I'm definitely excited for this season. Be more, definitely more, just like aggressive, I guess, in terms of our movements and stuff like that. But I'm definitely excited.
Well, and you talked about obviously your development the last couple of years. You know, I was talking about the physical side, but obviously I know you're also talking about the technical side and understanding plans of attack and those types of things. Let me ask you kind of with that in mind on top of new defensive coordinator coming in. I mean, because when I watched your film, Jah, like for me, I watched you and the quick boxes being checked are you obviously have a really impressive frame. You're obviously very explosive and you have length for days, right? So like you have all those building blocks to being a great edge rusher. How much is just, I guess, the approach to playing the defensive end position, right? The pass rush plan, understanding how to set up moves, having counter off of those moves, having good hands. Like how much importance to just the technical side of being a refined player with your hands and your attack? How important has that been for you?
Yeah, Coach Debo, he had a whole rush plan when he got here. He had a whole plan for us in terms of setting your line, knowing if the tackle has vertical or horizontal shoulders, knowing when to use a move, knowing the offensive tackle's specialties, if they're a heavy set or if they're a light set and stuff like that. Things I didn't know my first 3 years here. Just different defensive line coaches just teaches it differently. But we actually sat back and looked at the just like broke everything down, which was really good for me. And I'm just glad that he did that for me last year, just looking at everything more in depth, more detailed. But yeah, I do, especially this season, just like this off season, just working on my hands and stuff like that to be a more fluent pass rusher. And so yeah, because I already have like you said, the tools and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just being more fluent and so yeah, with my hands and stuff like that. So we're definitely doing that this off season. And so yeah, definitely excited.
So I talked about those first 2 years as kind of a building block for you. And then you got obviously some playing time in 2022, but then you really broke out this past year. You had 7.5 sacks, led the team, like I said. Production started really coming with that potential that you have. What was this past year like for you just individually, just starting to see all the hard work that you've been putting in the last few years now actualizing itself to production? What was that season like for you?
It was good to see the work pay off. I've worked the hardest that I worked with Coach Debo. Just sitting with him one on one, just talking different things. 2022, I've seen the growth from myself. I just didn't see the production that we always do. We always talk about, but in our room we talk about affecting the quarterback. It's not always about sacks. So just looking past the sacks and just affecting the quarterback any type of way, and that's like our major thing that we talk about in our room. So it was good seeing the production. So definitely a confidence booster going into this next season. It's kind of crazy because we talk about the production and how if you have more if you had like 4 more sacks, something like that, I could have went out last year. But I'm definitely excited just to come back and just see the growth and see the confidence and yeah.
So you mentioned, and I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but you had mentioned a couple of the guys that were in your room early that really kind of paved the way and were big for you to kind of take you under their wing a little bit. Now that you're entering your 5th year, how has this offseason been for you from the leadership side of things? Like obviously you're one of the older guys in the room, not only just defensive line, but in general. How important has been, I guess, your push now to be even more of a leader this offseason?
Yeah, that's really exciting. I look back at the days where I came in and just seeing how I looked up to Big O and see what he did. He never cut any corners. He never he never cut any corners, stuff like that. So definitely just leading by example. I'm not more of a vocal guy. I'm more of a lead by example type guy. But just looking at the growth from Anthony and how he looks up to me, and he can't do the same things that I do because he just has a different body type than me. But we talk every day. We talk ball every day. And I'm excited to see the guys like freshmen like Adam coming in and just like picking his brain. So I just want to make sure that they know that I don't want them to make the same mistakes as me. And and my success on the field, I just want to translate for them. And so definitely when Adam does come here, he will definitely be I'll definitely be hard on him because he hasn't lived it, but just seeing it, it will definitely help. That because for me, I wasn't playing, but I was on the sideline looking at Big O, and he was like talking to me in terms of like, you see how the tackle went like this and stuff like that. So definitely that.
So I wanted to ask maybe, I guess, if you can give us a little bit of not a scouting report per se, but one guy's name that I also had written down from your team, kind of just doing some advanced scouting stuff for Minnesota's past year. I might be pronouncing his name completely wrong, so please correct me if I'm incorrect here. But Ariante Ursary, who is the star offensive tackle for Minnesota as well. I would love to hear the battles you guys have in practice when you do some 1-versus-1 or some pass rush stuff, like whatever it is, because that kid, for people that don't know him, it's number 69, left tackle for Minnesota. He's a good player, Jah. He's a really talented football player.
Yeah, that's it's actually my best friend on the team, and he's definitely got me better over the years. And he's definitely a very talented tackle, and he's definitely getting better this offseason. But so yeah, definitely our battles have really been great this offseason and over the years. And we know each other. We know each other's strengths. We know each other's weaknesses. But definitely getting better at that. We work together privately offseason as well. I think we're gonna do some training as well in Dallas together. But yeah, definitely talented. And so yeah.
He's a big boy too, man. He's just
Oh
he
yeah,
carries the weight really well,
for
which is
sure.
pretty remarkable.
And it's
My
crazy
last,
because
yeah.
how patient he is and how like quick he moves his feet and stuff like that. Um, he definitely really good.
Well, I think that's a separator for a lot of players. Like I look at that at corners and offensive tackles a lot too, because they're the ones that are you're kind of put in one-on-one situations a lot in those two positions. And the guys that are so patient, it's because they're so athletic and where they can trust their athleticism, right? And the game really starts to slow down. And Ursary was certainly a guy that popped to me in that regard as well. So love the
Yeah.
note there. I had two more questions for you. One is you already mentioned your excitement for this upcoming season. I know breaking in a new defensive coordinator, which you already talked with Coach Rossi leaving, but I would really love to hear about because the unique part of Minnesota is even when you lose an offensive or defensive coordinator, we had already talked a bunch about Coach Fleck has instilled and has this foundation of obviously the culture that you guys have built with the Golden Gophers. So we'll love to hear just goals for this season. Could be individual, could be team wise. Like what are you guys working towards in 2024?
Well, we're definitely working towards just getting better and as a D line group, pushing from last year and just improving from last year, and in terms of just production. This season, I'm excited for this season. Definitely an opportunity to be in the playoffs and stuff like that. And I know I was watching it last year and just texting Coach Fleck and saying just like we got to be here next season. So he said we're going to do a lot of work this offseason to get there, but definitely exciting in our room defensively speaking, and it's exciting to see a new perspective and defensive coordinator. I'm definitely gonna be talking to him a lot this offseason in terms of his mindset and his goal, not his goals, but his approach towards the game. Because we kind of knew what Coach Rossi was talking and kind of knew where his mindset was, but excited to see like the new perspective on in that regard. And so yeah, there's no like technical like goals for the D line room in terms of just like a set number, but definitely just production, definitely just getting better, and so yeah, definitely so yeah, that.
So my last question for you is, I know that technically with the COVID year and the redshirt year you do have 2 more years of eligibility if you choose to use it, right? But whether it's 2025 or 2026, obviously you're very close to what I'm sure was a longtime dream for you to potentially play in the NFL. And obviously I'm a person that believes that you certainly have that upside to play in the NFL. I would just love to hear the journey you've had has been so unique, going from Connecticut to Minnesota to not playing a ton your first 2 years to having a big breakout in 2023 and now being the guy potentially in 2024. Just kind of looking back at the journey you've had, Jah, and just kind of appreciating so close to maybe that dream. How just grateful are you for this journey and that potential next step whenever that does happen?
Well, I'm definitely grateful, and definitely grateful for the Minnesota staff and believing in me, believing in my process and my development off the field and on the field. How mature I did become now, and just to continue to get better every year. And so yeah, I think that's just the main thing, just the belief they had in me over the years, and just a belief in myself. Because I think losing confidence is a major thing that a lot of athletes do when they're not playing and when they're not seeing the production. So I tell all the younger guys that it's literally your process, and it is not it is there. The coaches can believe in you, but at the same time, you got to have your own process and your own belief in yourself, and the belief that you can do it actually. And so yeah, just honing in on myself. And I know I have a lot of conversations with my high school coach and my parents and stuff like that, but it's definitely the belief in yourself to actually do it. And so yeah, I'm just grateful that they definitely just stayed with me and believed in me.
How fast is it going, by the way, man? I mean, you're about to enter year 5 in college. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, because I remember my process, like I play a little college football myself, not nearly to the level that you do, obviously. But I mean, I just felt like I blinked my eyes one day and you're a senior and it's over at that point, right? Like how
Yeah,
quickly has this been, man? It's wild.
it's kind of crazy because just walking across the stage, because I just graduated. Just walking across the stage,
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Walking across the
Yeah.
stage, seeing all the people cheer for me, it was actually like just very surreal. And it's been a process just being here and how fast it did go. It's just I'm blessed, and so yeah.
There you go. Jah Joyner, star defensive lineman out of the University of Minnesota. Make sure, again, if you haven't watched him from last season, number 17, and he's up for a lot better things going into the 2024 season. Jah, I really appreciate your time, man. Again, right after school ending a couple weeks ago, obviously into the offseason workouts and everything, man. A little bit of downtime, but not a ton. Thank you so much for joining the show today, man. It's very appreciated.
Honored. Appreciate you.